Well, the guy who was made famous on Beaver territory, you've probably read about him a couple of times now, the real-life Rudy of Oregon State basketball. Tony Rocklin with us out of Troutdale. Thanks for coming by. Probably didn't expect to be as much of a celebrity this year, did you? Just walking on here.
No, I really didn't. I was just hoping to make the team, and from there I set goals. I was hoping to make the traveling team, and unfortunately things have just worked out, and I've been able to contribute a little bit.
I mean, that's got to be the real bonus, is that you are playing, and certainly he's contributed this year.
Well, the thing that's amazing about Tony, he's a fifth-year senior, and the team picked him. I didn't get to pick him. I didn't even know of his whereabouts, to be honest with you, other than the fact he came to the office and said he'd like to give it a try. And we try to accommodate people that are in our student body that are Oregon people. And he went out there, and our players came in and said, hey, we better give this guy a look, because he's holding his own in practice. So I would like to say I was the talent scout in this walk-on situation, but it was the team.
That's right. It was, I guess, Charlie McKinney, a departed player who saw you playing at Dixon Rec Center over the years. And you only played, what, 1 year of high school ball before this year?
I played 1 year of varsity, and as soon as I got to Oregon State, I played, after classes from 1 to 5, and lifted weights, and just that's all I did. I pretty much concentrated on Dixon more than I did school, and I played with the players a lot. During spring they'd come down and play, and I played with Charles and Dave Brown and Brandon when he got here, and they just encouraged me. Why don't you try to walk on, or do this, and come over and during the spring and play at Gill with them and stuff. And so I did all these things, and Charles just told me, if you're looking for a good experience, you may not play. Walk-ons usually don't play. He was telling me, and he was, but give it a shot, because if you don't, you'll regret it the rest of your life.
But now, I mean, to start, I mean, you started early. You had one early start back in December, too.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous, starting, because honestly, I never thought I'd play. Just wanted to, contribute in practice, and then to get a start was pretty amazing. It was like a dream. So, I just want to come out and do good things for the team.
Tony is not the only walk-on this year. There's a total of 6 on this team. And let's take a look at the rest of them now, of course. Tony out of the, and I love to say this, the now defunct Columbia High School. It's sort of like Dave Craig, the quarterback from Milton College. But let's take a look at all 5 of these guys from this year. Tony from Columbia High out in Troutdale. And again, he's had some serious minutes this year. 8 points against the Ducks was his season high. He's had 2 starts this year. Got to start against the Huskies and went up against big Mr. Woods this past weekend. Also some good minutes against the Cougars. And not just a scorer and a rebounder, but he can dish the ball. Now this guy is a recent addition coming up, Justin Moore, off the football team. Another tight end, of course, Dave Brown, a former tight end. Justin got his first points against the Cougars. He came on really just to give you that extra big man, and he's gotten some PT. Bobby Edwards, great hustler. I know you gave him a lot of time earlier in the year before he hurt the foot, and he got back into action a little bit this week. Still a little sore,
Mr. Hustle, though. He's playing in pain.
Eric Peterson, this is the other Peterson, a red shirt from Madras, saw his first action in the Arizona game. It's possible to have 3 Browns, 2 Petersons on the floor at one time. Darrell Lonnie is terrified at that prospect. And then, of course, Trent Inglesby, the senior, transferred from Mount Hood Community College a year ago. He's played in a few games this year, had a couple of baskets against UCLA, and also picked up a hoop against the Ducks.
He's also an honor student. He just got a nice award that's going to be honored here at the Arizona game. Dealing with outstanding students, and he is outstanding in that capacity.
Is there a kind of a group feel for all of you guys?
Yeah, there really is. We kid about it a lot, about being walk-ons and stuff, but just being a walk-on, we all have the same mentality towards basketball. You have to, work extra hard, to get that edge, and you have to prove yourself. And so we kind of, we help each other, encourage each other, and just try to go as a group. So there is that group feeling.
And by the same token this year, I mean, with the injuries and it's a numbers game, I mean, you can't fool around too much because they need you. I mean, you need to be ready if you're going to get in there and play, because you might be in a lot earlier in the game than you'd think.
Yeah, every game is different, and so, you always got to be ready mentally and physically, so.
And I know you said you've always liked having the extra in-state kid, and maybe it's a few more than you'd expected, but are you happy with the group?
Well, very happy with them. They're great young men, and they work hard. They represent our program very nicely. They're good citizens. They work hard. I enjoy them. I enjoy every single one of them. 2 of them are from Legacy basketball. Lloyd Peterson and Bob Edwards played for Slatch-Gill years ago. So it's refreshing to see family, so to speak, and guys like Tony that have persevered and come up the hard way and gets playing time and is an essential part of our program. And it's a credit to them. that what they're doing to help us is beneficial, and they're good guys along with it.
And we don't want to forget David Brown. Started out as a walk-on.
Right.
He's won a scholarship since then. He was a football player who changed sports a couple of years ago.
Right. So we're #1 in the country in that
I
capacity.
guess so. I guess so. That's,
We're #1.
And down the road, you're going to have the stories to tell your grandkids that out of nowhere you played a little varsity college ball in the Pac-10.
Yeah, it's been a great time, and I'm grateful to Coach for giving me the opportunity, and I'll have lots of stories to tell, all the kids and stuff. So.
All right, Tony Rocklin, on behalf of all the walk-ons, thanks for joining us this week.
You.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at this week's opponents. The Cats and the Sun Devils are coming to Gill Coliseum. Stay with us. Time now for our scouting report. Arizona State, of course, in for the second time this season on Saturday. Assistant coach Richie Wold with us right now. Sun Devils get a lot out of Headache Smith, and not just from the top of the key with those three-pointers.
Well, Arizona State really likes to push the ball after a made basket or a missed basket. And I've titled it their early offense. He'll bring the ball back down court out of back court and reverse the ball to Dwayne Fontana, who's called the trailer man. And then he'll reverse the ball over to the wing to Isaac Burton, who generally will run the right side of the court. After this takes place, Headache is going to cut through the lane using a high pick from Mario Bennett, and they'll try to get the ball in the low block. If that's not available, Fontana and Mario Bennett will set a double pick, and it may be staggered depending on the situation, or a double pick for Ron Riley, who comes off looking for the jump shot. In our first scene that you see against Oregon State, Ron Riley comes off and gets a jumper. In the second scene, Headache Smith is going to come off, and he's actually going to get the ball in the low block and score.
Arizona State, tough weekend at home. They dropped 2 games last week, and now they are in serious danger of missing postseason. They're still a good NIT candidate, but they've got to win a couple of games this week up here in the Valley. The Wildcats, though, probably playing the best basketball in the Pac-10 right now. They've gone up to number 9 in the rankings, ahead of UCLA after that big home victory against the Bruins this weekend. And, of course, who predicted it? The coach right here. You like those Cats.
Well, the Cats are playing extremely well right now. In fact, they had a surge early that they were playing great when they beat Michigan and some other ranked teams, and they had a little down period, and now they're on the numbers right now. They are the team to beat in our conference.
Damon Stoudemire, Khalid Reeves. I think you put them together, that might be even National Player of the Year. And just the way Damon runs the team. I mean, a lot of what Reeves does is from Damon getting him the ball. Damon's really having the season.
Well, he's having a great season, but against us, Reeves is the man. I mean, the stats that he's going to figure out against Oregon State are going to be phenomenal. Probably the player, maybe in all-time history, that have had his best games against Oregon State.
He had 35, of course, in the first meeting down in Tucson, and I think in less than 35 minutes. He was on fire.
Well, yeah, that's about right.
Darn close.
But last year he had great numbers
That's
too,
right.
and every year he's having great numbers against us.
Now, I know you went down there the first time against Arizona and wanted to dictate the pace. They didn't let you do that. Is this still a team you can slow down and jar out of what they're doing?
Well, you can, but you can't turn the ball over, and you have to make some of your shots. I mean, you can't shoot 35 to 40% and think that they're not going to get those rebounds and attack you quickly. So you have to hit a high percentage. Your turnovers have to be very minimum, and you have to take care of the offensive backboards. If you do those three, you have a chance in Corvallis.
And there has to be some pride too. I mean, you don't want to be you don't want it to be said that you're 44 points worse than anybody else in the conference. Is that kind of a challenge for this team too?
Well, the points isn't an issue. We go into every game, believe it or not, even at our record at this point, and think that we have a good game plan and we're going to win. We have never gone in thinking and being depressed that we don't have a chance. So if we do the things right, the margin for error is very minimal. So we have to play excellent basketball. But if we do, the pressure builds on them because they cannot lose anymore because they want to win the conference also. And they're still behind UCLA by a game. And so all of a sudden, they have to have some help, somebody to beat UCLA. They can't lose on the road. They can't lose to us. If we keep it close and the pressure builds, who knows?
We're going to take a look at the standings here quickly as we get down to the final 3 weeks of the season. Again, UCLA still has that edge. That loss to the Huskies really hurts the Cats. Maybe they get some help from Cal or Stanford this week, but it's still UCLA with the whip. There's 2 teams in. Cal probably has gotten in. That win over Cincinnati didn't hurt them on TV. Now the question is, who is the 4th team? Will there be a 4th team? Who's got the best shot?
I'm not sure there's going to be a 4th team unless one of those middle teams just wins like the rest of their games. There's 6 games left unless there's 5, but I'm not sure how the natural rival game is going right now, but it's a situation that can go either way. I have a feeling it's maybe 3 NIT teams.
Yeah, it could be because it's that overall record that gets you. That's what's
Right.
getting the Sun Devils in trouble. That's what will get Stanford in trouble. And the Cougars, even though they have the wins, it was a soft early schedule. They've got to almost beat everybody down the stretch.
Right. It's a situation where the power rating is going to be important in how you finish, especially I think on the road. If some of those teams can win big on the road, that's going to help them.
Arizona State this week. We'll be right back here next week to talk about it on the Jimmy Anderson Show. Good day.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian, along with the coach. Welcome to the Jimmy Anderson Show, where we talk Oregon State and Pac-10 basketball every week. Getting out of that last road trip of the year this week as you head for the Bay Area, and I know that's always special with your seniors, a chance to get out on the road one last time, and an interesting time to go to the Bay Area with Cal and Stanford both fighting for some postseason position.
Well, it's a real challenge for us, especially where the season has gone. We look for every game as a chance to prove ourselves again. We have quite a few of our players that live relatively close to the Bay Area, so they'll have a lot of family and friends there. So I think they're going to be ready to play. And it's ready for see what Stanford and Cal can do against us on their home floor.
Obviously, you get down to these last 2 weeks, and this is a program you're playing for some pride right now. Do you put that forth as a challenge for each game now for this group?
Well, what we're trying to do is finish on a positive note and make improvement on a continual basis. I think that's what athletics really merit young people, is the fact that you try to teach perseverance and doing your best on a daily basis. And so we're trying to get some wins, but we're also playing for pride and trying to end on a positive note, and that's in learning how to compete in basketball.
Now, you come off of this weekend, the two Arizona schools at home. You play 15 very competitive minutes with the University of Arizona, highly ranked team. Do you get something from a game like that?
Well, you get something from it, and it's basically positive feedback that if you do the right things through a long, sustained period of time, you have a chance to be ahead and make it very difficult for them. And as I perceive it, that if we could have kept our lead going into the second half, the pressure would have built on them more so than us, because they needed that game to stay in first in the conference race and to get a higher seed when it comes to go to the NCAA. We're playing for pride and for basketball's sake itself and for the program, but that didn't happen. We were close to doing it, but when it came down to it, we had a bad spurt. They had a good spurt, and we were behind 11 at halftime.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights from the first game of the weekend. University of Arizona last Thursday night. They were ranked number 9 in the country going into the game. Now number 8 after a sweep in Oregon. But they had to work for these games. Lute Olson thinking about a Pac-10 title. They're poised to win it right now. We pick it up in the first half. Brent Barry gets in foul trouble early on. 2 fouls, and he gets popped in the nose right here, and he has to sit down the rest of the half.
Well, he gets 2 quick fouls and he has a couple turnovers, and all of a sudden we're playing without one of our main cogs. But we do the job for almost 15 minutes that we're in the head. Then it gets 17-17, and then the roof kind of fell in.
Well, Arizona's able to get the ball inside, as you see, but the outside shooting really clicking early on, and you're matching them basket for basket. In fact, to put on a little run here and take control. Stephen Brown finding the open man, and Kareem makes him pay.
Well, Kareem had a very positive game for us. He scored points, got rebounds, and did a lot of nice things.
There's Tony Rockland in off the bench for Brent, driving to the hoop for 2 more, and Steph again is going to find Jaron Brown. He's going to go to the hoop, draw the foul, and get ahead by a couple of baskets.
Well, we were very ready for this game, and I think our game plan was sound, and we made some very fine maneuvers, such as this one here. We shot 63% for halftime, but our turnovers, we had 13 turnovers at halftime, and then some untimely shots.
JB again with the outside shot. Now Kareem's going to wind it up for 3. And now we're midway through the first half, and it's a 19-13 ball game, and there is more to come. Watch Kareem get in there, get the offensive board, put it back up, and now it's an 8-point lead, biggest of the game.
Well, we ran our offense probably as sharply as we have all year long for this period of time, and we were hitting our shots because we were working for very easy shots. And then they went into a pressure defense, and that really did hurt us because it got the game in a different tempo, caused some turnovers, and then you can see how they capitalized on the other end.
Yeah, they really do, and they slapped this press on here in the final 5 minutes of the half. I know players afterwards saying this is different than the press they used in the first game down at Arizona.
Well, we turned the ball over like that. We held the ball in the corner a few times and let the trap develop, and all of a sudden we come unglued a little bit, and then their quick run on shots such as this put them up 11 at halftime.
It was 41-30 at the break in favor of Arizona. Khaled Reeves just getting warmed up, and of course he's had a field day against the Beavs in his career. When you see that number 3 coming, you know there's trouble. Steph Brown gets a 3-point play just before the half. It is 41-30 at the break, and they just kept on pressuring in the early stages of the second half, and by the 15-minute mark, they've got a 33-6 run going, and that pressure has taken the game away.
Well, their transition is very good, and then when they get up, they just keep coming, and this takes any edge we had for having pressure on them certainly diminished when we got behind.
There's the 3, and then the steal on the inbounds, and it was that kind of night as you see him go back to the hoop. All of a sudden, the red wave is underway. Brent Barry getting his highlight of the night as he's back in there in the second half. Good ball movement, inside, scores. And up off the bench, David Brown, the tight end who shoots the threes. We're going to visit with him a little later on here in the show. And late in the game, Trent Inglesby, 3 for 3 in these highlights at the end of games this year. The steal, the score. He's going to have a nice little highlight reel when he graduates.
Well, Trent has always come in on every game and gives some positive contribution to the team. He either steals or scores or assists. He doesn't have any minuses against him in any of the games.
Statistically, a very good game, particularly in the first half, but it was the turnovers, and again, the first half turnovers really the big difference. And we look at the individual numbers from this game. Steph ends up with 19, Kareem 14 points, 9 boards, Khalid Reeves 30 points, and we left Stoudemire off there, but he had the great all-around game, the steals, the assists, and that combo in the backcourt is devastating for Arizona. That's why they're on top.
Well, that's why they're ranked as they are in the country, and probably why they'll be either 1 or 2 seed in the West.
Yeah, looks like it. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Game 2, the Saturday encounter against Arizona State, as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Last Saturday's Beaver basketball game with Arizona State University was rather entertaining for the fans to watch, but I would think kind of a coach's nightmare because it got to be so up and down. It looked like a bad day at the Y at times.
Well, I think there was a little bit of everything that was going on there. The officials seemed to be not having a good night. I know we didn't have a good night. And Arizona State basically matches our quickness, and that makes it very difficult for us.
Take a look at the highlights from Saturday afternoon at Gill. You know, ASU, a team, and I like the talent they have, but they've been disappointing this year. But they'd be in a position to be in the tournament right now, and they've just lost too many games.
Well, I'm surprised that they've lost that many games because I think their perimeter group are probably as good as any in the conference. Their inside game with Bennett is very, very sound, and Fontana gives them a very quick forward that really defenses Brent Berry very well in this game, and that's one of the keys.
It really is. Jerron Brown gets loose offensively. He, of course, has the task of taking care of big Mario Bennett. No doubt the best big man in the league this year, and it was tough early on. Bennett got going early, and that really keyed them. They didn't get the outside shooting they usually do, but they didn't need it.
No, his shooting has been fantastic. For the 2 games this year, he's been 19 for 22. And for Bennett, he's so strong inside that he's getting a lot of lay-ins, and that's why his percentage is so high.
See if a good guard play. Barry scoring off the turnover. David Drakeford coming up with the steal. Now Steven Smith proving he's not just a three-point shooter. He's going to find Bennett for 2 more.
Well, when you're late getting back, and that's one of our problems, is that our pickup, our defense at the end, sometimes it doesn't go from the basket out, and all of a sudden the big guys get loose.
And Arizona State busts it open after a 17-17 tie, and they do it by getting it inside. There he is. Some very rough work under the boards. It's hard to decide who to put on if you don't want to just try to muscle them all day long.
Well, I think David Brown probably did as well as anybody defensing him, because he's at least as strong as he is, maybe not as quick, or has the long arms, but they pinpoint that pass and they work hard to get it in, and it's the hardest defense for any team is post defense.
Good hustle by Stephen Brown, blocks the shot, then saves the play inbounds, and ASU tops the half, getting the three-pointer off the turnover. It's Burton, not Steven Smith. And at the break, it is 41-27 in favor of Arizona State. Getting to the second half of action, and a little experiment, I guess. You bring the big man in to guard Bennett. Justin Moore, and for a minute there, this looked like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone going at it.
Well, he was working us over pretty well, so we decided to have our big man kind of lean on him a little bit, just to equalize and let him know how it feels. And there was no hard feelings. It was just a lot of physicalness going on.
You could see the smiles out there. They were enjoying it.
Yeah.
Does it make Justin more of a novelty act? Would you use him again in the future in that kind of situation?
Well, he can do some certain things. He can rebound, and he does take up space. We probably have to go to more zones, etc. with him. He joined us late, as everyone knows, so he doesn't even really thoroughly know our offense. So he can help us in little spurts, but if you keep him on there too long, probably it's going to be not to our advantage.
Is he somebody you'd want to have back next season?
I don't. I think he needs to concentrate on football, to be honest with you. But he's been really a blessing, because he gives us an extra body in practice, and he does some very fine things, and really a fine gentleman.
And Justin will probably be starting, in fact, at tight end for the football team this year, coming out of spring drills. Here are the final numbers, and the offense didn't get going. The shooting numbers were bad all day long. That kept it. And also the turnovers, not that many, but they were early, and that set tempo for the game. Kareem, another nice night. He's come back well from the back problems, 20 points in this game. Brent has the all-around game. Steven Smith, a quiet 22. It was definitely Mario Bennett who was the difference.
Right. Well, Steven Smith actually played better defensively. He hurt us defensively more so than he did offensively this time around.
All right, that wraps up the weekend with the Arizona schools. When we come back, we'll meet David Brown, our feature player of the week, and take a look inside OSU basketball as we visit with trainer Sandy Sandego. David Brown, the senior center out of Corvallis High School, our feature player this week. Here's a guy who started out as a football player and walked on. We talked about the walk-ons last week, but you walked on and won a scholarship after a year. So you feel like you've really been a true basketball player the last couple of years?
Yeah. After my first year, I think got back in the swing of things and started becoming more of a contributor in practice, and I think I've become the basketball player.
And I know people always talk about, oh, a football player coming out, they just want a big body. But I saw you play at CHS, and I mean, you always had that, you know, the light touch of the feet, the outside shot. So it was not terribly unnatural going back to basketball.
No, basketball's always, you know, been a favorite sport of mine, and I've played it ever since I was just a little kid. So it comes pretty naturally to me. So.
David has been a real plus for us because he can play two positions, plays the center and the power post, but his post defense has improved. It was, to me, kind of questionable because he funneled in behind people, and now he's fronting and he's keeping it away, and he's a good passer. And I think with the improvement in his passing and his post defense, he's getting more time and being a big help to us. His shooting actually has not been that great. He's a better shooter than he really is showing right now. And when he shoots within the offense, he really drills them. Then every once in a while, he kind of slides away and miss one or two. And coach kicks him a little bit, but he's been a real plus for us. He works hard, and we're very fortunate to have him on the squad.
You may notice the highlights. It was all three-pointers this past weekend. Would you be comfortable shooting the ball more? Is that one thing you'd add to your game?
Oh yeah, I love to shoot the ball.
He's not bashful. He's not bashful about shooting at all.
Yeah.
He doesn't get nervous when it comes time to looking at the hoop. But he's a good passer. He's a much better passer than he realizes, because with his ability to shoot, people have to come to him a little bit. And now if he can get that assist factor up for us a little bit, that'll be an immense help too. He's not a great jumper, but if he checks off the board, he's a good rebounder, and he's doing a better job there too.
Talk about these last 2 weeks of the season. How do you want to end the career here?
Just on a positive note, get things swinging for next year. You know, I think these two weeks coming up are going to be real important for the younger guys. We have a lot of young guys on the team, and just to get them going on a positive note for the spring and summer, and really get going for next year.
All right, Dave, thanks for stopping in with us. It's time now to take a look inside the Oregon State basketball program. We're going to chat with trainer Michael Sandego. Everybody knows him as Sandy. He's probably been the busiest man in Beaver basketball this year, taking care of all the injuries. Of the regular players who've been with the team since the start of the season, 15 out of 15 have gone down with some kind of injury. And in his own words now, Michael Sandego tells us about his very busy year.
We see them not only in their physical down, but when they're mentally down also. And so we become very, very close to them. We experience their pains, and as a result, we get to experience their joys also. And that can't help but bring you in a little bit closer than to say, well, I'm the trainer, and I'm going to either tape you or treat you, and then you're going to go off on your own and be that way. I don't think it can work that way, particularly in a close group like a basketball team.
Have you been rubbed down yet on your shoulders?
Do you want to get rubbed down?
Before you go up and shoot or after? You did your legs already?
Okay. Okay, then after you come down, if we need some more, we'll do it during meetings.
Is there anyone of his team who's escaped unscathed other than bumps and bruises this year?
No. Very, very, very simply, very honestly. No, Trent Inglesby, I think, was the last to go down when he sprained his ankle just prior to the Fresno State game. What our injuries have presented this year is a far more structured schedule for what we're trying to accomplish. Where before I may be taking care of one, possibly two athletes at a time, I'm taking care of 7, 10, even upwards of 12 to 15 at any one point in time.
We'll go about 10 this way, and then we'll get your ultrasounded, and we'll massage, and we'll get it rubbed out, okay? And then Brent should be in just a second, and he is at, we're going to go pulsed ultrasound on, he's got a start of a calcium deposit we're trying to break up.
We spend a lot more time with hands-on type of stuff rather than just hooking people up to a machine
or having them do something where there's no interaction. And I don't know if we want to call it a return to basics, but we do spend a great deal of time hands-on with all of our athletes at this point. And we've had what I'd like to believe is a far better return rate with that, rather than just saying, here's a machine and it's going to get you better.
We participate in an injury surveillance for the NCAA. We are the first school in the history of the basketball situation to have to request more injury reporting forms for time loss injuries.
Just need to get after it. Get after it tomorrow, though. Did you do anything today for yourself? Make yourself any healthier? Why not? Huh?
There are those that have sympathy for you and know that you're not any poorer of an athletic trainer because people get hurt, because you are working a whole lot harder for the same amount. So we'll get through that, and I would just looking forward to having a much better time with it next year.
Yeah, if anybody's had to work hard this year, it's been that gentleman. He's been with this program so long. I mean, he's almost, I guess, another coach, a parent in some respects. A little bit of everything.
Well, you get right down to grassroots when you're in the basement, and you know, you talk about time and a half. Well, his is double time because he's had twice to maybe 3 times as many injuries to work on during the year and at specific points in our season. It's been almost amazing. You know, Murphy's Law, if somebody's going to get hurt, they're all going to get hurt, and they've all been hurt.
I think Murphy's got a locker, in fact, down there now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does, and we're going to try to fire him for next year.
Well, that's a good idea. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the final road trip of the year. Cal, Stanford, down there, going to be tough. We'll be back. Time now for our scouting reports. Cal and Stanford this week, and the Beavers begin the road trip at Maples Pavilion Thursday night against the Stanford Cardinal. Assistant coach Rich Wold with us now. Tell us about Stanford and their offense.
Okay, today we're going to look at one of their sets that they've had a lot of success with. We've entitled it Zipper, and on the right-hand side here, if you notice, we'll look at some of the options they like to do. First of all, Brevin Knight, who's very effective with dribble penetration. He has the first option of taking it, either going with the left or with the right. In this case, he's going to go to the right. If he can take it into the lane and create for his teammates. After he brings it over to the right, Morgan will screen down, and they'll look to get into the low post right away, if possible, to Morgan. If that's not available, then they can kick it back out to Cross. in the scene that you'll look at, Cross then reverses the ball to Williams, who's getting a pick from Popik, and he can dump it inside if that's available or look for his jumper. After that, they go into 3 out, 2 in. They like to get the ball in low or let Knight go one-on-one with dribble penetration.
Stanford, maybe the Cinderella of the conference. Can they make it to the big party? They got to win games down the stretch, but they're getting great balance right now. 4 players in double figures, 3 players averaging over 5 rebounds per game, and Brevin Knight. Huge difference. You know all about California. They lost that game down at Southern Cal, but they're probably playing the second best basketball in the league right now, behind the University of Arizona. And the big win, of course, last week was the Thursday night game at UCLA, and Cal is capable of coming out and taking command of a game, and they did it here with Kidd and Murray. Talk about Jason Kidd so much. Lamont Murray, really one of the truly great big men in this league because he's so active. He comes at you from the outside and the inside.
Well, they're kind of like the bread and the butter. You can't really enjoy one without the other, and their stats are just exceptional. Murray probably doesn't get as much credit as Kidd because Kidd is the marquee name, and nationally he's known, and he's probably going to go into the draft as an underclassman, and I'm sure everybody predicts that he'll be a great professional.
Now that's kind of the intrigue right now. Kidd, from what the pro scouts say, they say Kidd is ready. Murray, although he's a good body and it's a bad year for big men, would probably benefit from one more year in college.
Well, he would be the marquee man next year, and maybe by that he could get better stats and probably maybe go into the draft the following year. However, I was disappointed that they lost to USC because I thought it would be real interesting for our league to have UCLA, Arizona, and Cal tied to see the last 4 games that are going to be coming up to just see who is the tough team and who's going to surface as the league championship. Right now, I believe Arizona is going to win the conference championship.
Now we look at the standings now with 2 weeks to go, and the Cats are back in the driver's seat. They took care of business up here on the road. UCLA lost that game, and it appears to be Arizona's to win right now. They have the easier schedule down the stretch. They got the Washingtons down there this week. Can anybody? Again, we go back to will the 4th team get in? Nobody has the record now. Maybe Stanford's the best bet, but they got to win down the stretch.
Well, also Washington State. Washington State has not played that tough of a schedule. However, they're going to, if they can win the majority of their games left, they're going to have 20 wins, and that's been kind of a magic number.
That's right.
Stanford, they're going to have to win almost all of them. I predict there'll be 3 teams that go to the NCAA and 3 that'll go into the NIT.
That sounds right. Quickly, while we have a few seconds, I know you were happy to see the reunion of the '63 Final Four team this past weekend.
Well, anytime you make it to the Final Four, that's the real dance floor, so to speak. And we had a great time afterwards at a banquet for them, a dinner, and it was great to see all these great athletes return. And if you look on that team, you have Terry Baker, Heisman Trophy winner. You have Steve Pauley, national decathlon champ. So great players.
And of course, I'm sure somewhere Slats was smiling watching y'all have fun.
Oh, for sure.
We'll be back next week with another edition of The Jimmy Anderson Show.